Hi everyone. Hi students. How are you all? Okay, so I hope you are doing good and welcome to our today's session. Ask me anything on maths. So my name is Chirag, and before we begin with the session, so the session would be mostly conducted in the language of English, so that for everyone else it is convenient. And in the middle, we'll be using few Hindi words, so it would be a mix. But then for understanding, I would try to stick to English so that everyone knows whatever is going on in the class. So, like you can see on the left hand side, here we have certain set of questions which are little numerical based, है ना? सारे theoretical questions नहीं है. Few questions are based like on theory, conceptual based, and some are problem solving questions. So, let's begin, है ना? We'll start with the first question. Okay, तो first question क्या दिया है हमें? It is saying p of x is a polynomial, and when p is divided by x minus 1, then the remainder is 1, and 10 when divided by x minus 4. Okay, so we'll read the question completely, है ना? पहले try to understand what it is asking us. If r of x is remainder when divided by x minus 1 into x minus 4, find r of 2006. Okay, तो स्टूडेंट्स व्हाट यूजुअली हैपेंस इज कि जब हम कोई क्वेश्चन देखते हैं, है ना, व्हेनेवर वी सी अ क्वेश्चन, व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट वी हैव अ टेंडेंसी टू इंटरप्रेट और लाइक दिस गेट अ स्टैटिक माइंडसेट कि हाँ अभी क्वेश्चन, हाँ ठीक है, फर्स्ट लाइन हमने पढ़ ली है एंड वी हैव सॉल्व्ड सम सॉर्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चन अभी, सो वी टेंड टू इग्नोर और निग्लेक्ट व्हाट इट इज एग्जैक्टली आस्किंग अस टू डू, है ना? So whenever we attempt a question, make sure that we are reading it completely from the start to the end. And I would always advise ki, like, if you are preparing, like say you are giving a competitive exam, so it's advised to, like, while reading, just write down the things that are given to you at one end, so that you don't miss out on the details. तो पढ़ते पढ़ते क्या करना है, हमें जो भी चीजें गिवन दे रखी है वो लिखना है. ओके, एंड बाकी तो लाइक नाउ आई हैव टू एक्सप्लेन इट टू यू एंड सॉल्व इट, तो मैं पूरा स्ट्रक्चर लिखूंगा. ऑल राइट, सो फर्स्ट क्या दिया, पी ऑफ एक्स जो है हमारा वो पॉलिनोमियल है. व्हेन पी इज डिवाइडेड बाय एक्स माइनस वन, तो रिमाइंडर क्या है हमारा, वन. और जब हम p को डिवाइड कर रहे हैं फ्रॉम x माइनस फोर, सो व्हाट इज द रिमाइंडर एट दैट टाइम? हमारा जो रिमाइंडर है दैट इज 10. ओके, सो इन टर्म्स, है ना, सो क्या बोलते हैं हम, क्वोशिएंट, है ना, वी हैव अ डिवाइजर, डिविडेंड, रिमाइंडर एंड अ क्वोशिएंट, है ना? सो इसको अगर मैं बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर में लिखूं, राइट, सो व्हाट वुड माय p ऑफ x बी? माय p ऑफ x वुड बी x माइनस वन इंटू क्वोशिएंट, है ना, q1 ऑफ x प्लस वन. वन क्या हो गया हमारा यहाँ पे, रिमाइंडर हो गया r, है ना? p ऑफ x इज व्हाट इट इज गिवन टू अस. x माइनस वन हमारा क्वोशिएंट है ना, सो विल अज्यूम दैट वी हैव टू क्वोशिएंट्स, q1 q2, जो हमारे क्वोशिएंट्स आ रहे हैं when we are dividing it with x minus 1 and x minus 2. All right, क्लियर है ना इतना? लाइक बेसिक मैथ्स है ना. व्हाट डू वी डू इज वी आर डिवाइडिंग समथिंग, है ना, सम नंबर विद समथिंग, वी हैव अ क्वोशिएंट, वी हैव अ रिमाइंडर, वी हैव अ डिवाइजर एंड अ डिविडेंड. ओके, so we'll try to get two statements, and the first statement is when I'm dividing p of x by x minus 1, so my x minus 1 into quotient of x plus remainder, है ना, this would be my statement 1. Okay, now statement number 2, p of x is also equal to, when I have x minus 4, तो क्या हो जाएगा मेरा यहाँ पे, it would be x minus 4 into quotient of 2, है ना? जब I'm dividing my p of x by x minus 4, I'm having another quotient, है ना, which I'm representing with what, with quotient number 2. तो क्या हो जाएगा, x minus 4 into quotient of 2 का x plus remainder. What is the remainder in this case? The remainder is 10. Okay, so this is our statement number 2. Now what we will do is कि जो भी हमारे statements है, जो भी हमने मिला हुआ है, we'll try to simplify it. Okay, so for the first step what we are going to do is कि हमारी जो equation number 2 है, इसको हम दोनों साइड पे मल्टीप्लाई कर देंगे. Now if we want to, like, equate them, तो व्हाट इज अ बेटर ऑप्शन सो दैट फॉर सिंप्लीफिकेशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन पर्पज इज कि हम जो दोनों साइड में हमारा टर्म्स है उसको सेम कर दें. सो व्हाट वी विल डू फॉर द फर्स्ट इक्वेशन, वील मल्टीप्लाई इट बाय x माइनस फोर ऑन बोथ द साइड्स. ओके, सो क्या आ जाएगा हमारा यहाँ पे, विल गेट x माइनस फोर इंटू पी ऑफ x इज इक्वल टू x माइनस फोर इंटू x माइनस वन इंटू क्यू वन ऑफ x, राइट, प्लस x माइनस फोर इंटू वन, राइट. तो ये क्या रहेगा मेरा, x माइनस फोर ही बचेगा. विल नेम दिस इक्वेशन एज इक्वेशन थ्री. सेम थिंग नाउ, ये वाली जब इक्वेशन है मेरे पास में, इसमें मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ, इन दिस आई डू द सेम थिंग. अभी x माइनस फोर आई मल्टीप्लाइड फॉर दिस इक्वेशन, सो आई मल्टीप्लाई विथ x माइनस वन फॉर दिस इक्वेशन. तो क्या आ जाएगा मेरा, x माइनस वन p ऑफ x इज इक्वल टू x माइनस फोर इंटू एक्स माइनस वन क्यू टू ऑफ x प्लस x माइनस वन इंटू टेन. सो अभी जब मेरा x माइनस वन इंटू टेन होगा तो ये क्या हो जाएगी टर्म मेरी, my this term would become 10x minus 10. Okay, so this is my equation number 4. All right, I hope it's clear till here. सबको clear है यहाँ तक? चलो, very good. Let's move आगे. We'll move forward. Okay, so what we have to do next step is we'll subtract these two equations. Okay, what we'll do, we'll subtract equation number 3 from equation number 4. Okay, so what will we get? We'll get p of x is equal to x minus 1 into x minus 4 into quotient of 2 of x minus quotient of 1 of x, right, upon 3 plus 9x minus 6 upon 3. Okay, ये वाली स्टेप में थोड़ा सा ध्यान देना है ना, लाइक आई हैव सॉल्व्ड इट डायरेक्टली, है ना, लाइक व्हेन वी ओपन x p x x minus फोर एंड px x minus वन, सो व्हाट वुड बी रिमेनिंग इन दैट केस, x और x कट हो जाएंगे, माइनस फोर माइनस वन, है ना. सो दैट वुड बिकम योर थ्री, एंड थ्री फिर यहाँ पे आर एच एस वाली साइड में आ जाएगा, राइट. सो थ्री वुड बिकम द थ्री वुड कम ऑन द डिवाइड डिविजन साइड ऑफ द आर एच एस. ओके, सो मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, so when our p of x is divided by x minus 1 and x minus 4, राइट. यहाँ पे इक्वेशन में क्या दिया हमें, फार ऑफ x इज रिमाइंडर व्हेन डिवाइडेड बाय x minus 1 into x minus 4. सो रिमाइंडर क्या आ रहा है हमारे यहाँ पे, वी आर गेटिंग द रिमाइंडर एज 9x minus 6 upon 3. एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू द गिवन इक्वेशन, गिवन है ना, एज पर द क्वेश्चन, what have they said, that when we are dividing p of x by x minus 1 and x minus 4, the remainder is r of x. So what is our r of x? R of x is 9x minus 6 upon 3, which is 3x minus 2. Now what have they asked us? उन्होंने हमें पूछा है r of 2006. They are asking us the value of r of 2006. Okay, so क्या करना है हमें, simply will substitute the value into this, है ना. what do we have to do, we have to substitute the value. तो क्या हो जाएगा, 3 into 2006 minus 2, basic math calculation, answer would be 6018 minus 2, which is 6016. all right, clear यहाँ तक. okay, so I hope the first question is clear to everyone and solution समझ में आया है सबको. all right, let's move to the next question. Question number 2. What does the question number 2 say? Prove that the difference of squares of two distinct odd natural numbers is always a multiple of 8. Okay, क्या बोला है हमें, difference of squares of two distinct odd natural numbers is always a multiple of 8. मतलब क्या, मैंने एक odd number ले लिया, okay, like just for convenience we are taking two odd numbers. Give me any two odd numbers. Let's take चलो 3 and 7. Okay, what are 3 and 7? Both are odd numbers, है ना. Condition number 1 satisfied, yes. They are distinct, yes. And they are natural numbers, right. Okay, so what are the next thing which they are saying is कि जो squares है दोनों numbers के, what is the square of 3? It is 9. What is the square of 7? 49. Okay, now what are they saying कि इनका जो difference है of these two numbers, what is the difference over here? 49 minus 9 is 40. Okay, they are asking us to prove that the difference is always a multiple of 8. तभी is 40 a multiple of 8? Yes, 8 into 5 क्या रहता है हमारा? 40. Okay, so हमने बस random basic example ले लिया है ना, just in order to understand that okay it is actually happening. Okay, so ये statement सबको clear हो गई है, right? We all got to understand that okay we selected a distinct natural odd number and we did the squares and जो difference था उसके square का वो ये condition में हमारा multiple of 8 आया है. Now what we have to prove कि if we are taking any two odd numbers, any two distinct odd natural numbers है ना, not just this, we have to prove that it would always be a multiple of 8. तो कैसे prove करेंगे अभी हम, ठीक है? So there are certain steps है ना, I'll try not to make it very boring, but to understand we'll just follow these steps है ना, how to prove it. So we all have followed a certain protocol or say a certain system like in which we represent even numbers and odd numbers है ना. If I am having any even number, what is my even number? Even number is always a multiple of 2, right? So what we'll do, even number to ho gaya, but now we have to represent the odd numbers. Okay, so our step 1 is represent the odd numbers, odd natural numbers, whatever it is. Okay, ये हो गया हमारा फर्स्ट स्टेप. नाउ रिप्रेजेंट कैसे करेंगे है ना, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट रिप्रेजेंटेशन. सो आई विल टेक माय टू नंबर्स एज ए एंड बी. फॉन्ट इज टू बिग. ओके चलो, I've taken my two numbers as a and b. My तो even number क्या हो गया मेरा, 2m फॉर्म में रहता है ना. My even numbers are of the form 2m, so I'll take 2m and 2n, and my odd numbers would always be plus 1. Okay, this is how we represent it. Okay, representation of odd numbers is in the form 2m plus 1. Okay, and in this case we have two numbers, so we have taken them as 2m plus 1 and 2n plus 1. Okay, now step number 2, what will we do? We'll calculate the difference of squares है ना, calculate the difference of their squares, right? That is what they are asking us है ना, वही बात पूछी है हमसे कि जो उनका स्क्वायर है तुम्हें वो बताना है हमें कि मल्टीपल 8 का. तो जाहिर सी बात है, व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग व्हिच वी विल डू, विल टेक द स्क्वायर्स एंड विल कैलकुलेट द डिफरेंस. सो विल डू इट a square minus b square. What would it be? It would be my 2m plus 1 का स्क्वायर minus 2n plus 1 का स्क्वायर है ना. So we'll just use the difference of squares formula है ना. What is this? A square minus b square, which is a plus b into a minus b, right? A plus b into a minus b. So what will I get? I'll get 2m plus 1 minus 2n plus 1 into 2m plus 1 plus 2n plus 1 है ना. m n m n, it's so confusing है ना. अगली बार if there's an example we'll take pq. Okay, तो बोलते वक्त also it's convenient and easy to understand. All right, चलो let's move forward. So on solving this, what will I get? I'll get 2m minus 2n from this bracket है ना, जो मेरा प्लस 1 है माइनस 1, that would get cancelled out. So 2m minus 2n, and on the other side what will I get? I'll get 2m plus 2n plus 2, right? It's clear till here for everyone. What did we get? We got 2m plus 2n plus 2. Okay, now next step, terms तो हो गए, we calculate the difference. Now next step what we'll have to do is we'll have to simplify it. Okay, so we'll factor out the common terms first. Factor out common terms. All right, so how will we factor out these terms? Simple, we can see that 2 is common everywhere. First step में क्या करना है हमें, we'll take out the 2 outside. Okay, so 2 into m minus n into m plus n plus 1. बट ये जो 2 हमने कॉमन निकाला है अभी, इट इज इन सच अ वे, राइट और नो, कुछ गड़बड़ हुई है? यस है ना. This 2 I'm taking out from this bracket, so it would be 2, and from this one I'm taking out 2, it would become my 2 into 2. Okay, सो एग्जाम में यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट व्हेन इट इज अ मल्टीप्लिकेशन एंड हम कॉमन आउट कर रहे हैं, सी हाउ द नंबर्स आर वर्किंग. ओके, because each term when it would get multiplied, 2 into 2 it would become 4, है ना. So when we are taking common out, ऐसे नहीं करना है कि हमने बस 2 बाहर लाके लिख दिया यहाँ पे. Okay, that would make a difference in our answers. चलो, so what would the answer become? It would be 4 into m minus n into m plus n plus 1. All right, it's clear till here. Now what we have to do is that we'll have to analyze this expression, है ना. So what we exactly have to do, हमको ये बताना है कि ये जो इक्वेशन है हमारा, this is a multiple of 8, है ना. This is a multiple of 8 is what we have to show them. Now what can be done? Think what can be done. We can determine the parity of the factors. Everyone understands the term parity? No? Okay, chalo, let's see. For those who understand, it's good. For those who don't, I'll explain. Okay? Determine the parity of factors. So what will we do? We know that जो हमारा m and n है, m and n are distinct natural numbers, है ना. This is what they have told us, that m and n are our distinct natural numbers. So m minus n मेरा क्या होएगा? If I take the difference, my m minus n would be a non-zero integer, right? Why would it be a non-zero integer? Because m and n are unique, so they do have some value between them, है ना. They are not equal. Are they equal? No. So when I'm doing m minus n, मेरे पास में जो भी term आएगा, that would be a non-zero integer. All right. Now my other expression, m plus n plus 1. M is unique, n is unique, both are non-zero, and if I'm adding 1, it would be a non-zero integer again, plus it would be an integer, right? It will always be an integer. So till this point, I hope everyone is clear. Okay. So दोनों conditions अभी हमें consider करनी है. One is for my m minus n and other is for my m plus n plus 1. All right. So what we will do is कि we'll just take it. Step number 5. अच्छा, we'll just write it at cases. Okay. We have our case number 1. What is my case 1? My case 1 is if m minus n is even. Okay, what would happen है ना, basically अगर m minus n मेरा even है, then m minus n would contribute to a factor of 2, है ना. कोई भी दो इवन नंबर ले लिया मैंने, 6 और 8 ले लिया, डिफरेंस क्या आएगा मेरा 2. 6 और 10 ले लिया, डिफरेंस क्या आएगा मेरा 4. 4 क्या है, 4 is 2 into 2, right? So if I take any even integer, any even number, and if I take a difference of any two even numbers, what would happen? They would always contribute to a factor of 2, है ना. हमेशा दो का फैक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट करेगा वो. So what will happen? m minus n है, it will contribute a factor of 2, contributes factor of 2, right? So what would happen in this case? My 4 into m minus n into m plus n plus 1, this would directly become a multiple of 8, है ना. Why? Because my this term is contributing a factor of 2, so it would anyways become 4 into 2, which is 8, and some integer which doesn't matter. Why? Because eventually वो multiple of 8 बन जाएगा. Now if we take the other case, okay, अगर जो मेरा case 2 है कि if my m minus n is odd, all right, if my m minus n is odd, so what would happen in this case? तो जो मेरा m plus n plus 1 है, that must be even, right? Any confusion to this statement? Like if my m minus n is odd, मेरा जो m plus n plus 1 वाला term है, that has to be even, right? Why? Because sum of odd and even number is always the sum of an odd number, and an even number is what? Even? No, it's odd, right? And if in odd I'm adding 1, what would I get? It would become even, right? If I do 3 plus 4, क्या हो गया ये 7 हो गया, it is odd. And in odd, if I'm adding 1, I'll get an even number, right? Basic common सी बात. Now, if my this term is even, so what would happen if I'm multiplying 4 into any even number or anything? It would again be a multiple of it. Got it? What would happen? My 4 into m minus n into m plus n plus 1 would again be a multiple of 8. Okay, so therefore what can we conclude? We can conclude that the difference of squares है ना, जो a square minus b square हमारे जो दो terms थे, which are our two distinct odd natural numbers, they would always be a multiple of 8. Okay, everyone is clear with the proof? समझा सबको? Let's move ahead. Okay, we'll go to the next question. Question number 3. Okay, what's my question number 3 saying? It is asking me ki how to find which quadrant a degree lies which exceeds 360 degrees. Okay, so basic, what all things we know so far is, if this is my quadrant, hai na, this is my quadrant 1, this is my quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. And what are the degrees in it? It goes from 0 to 90, right? 90 to 180, 180 to 270, and 270 to 360 degrees. Okay, now if I have been given any angle, है ना, कोई डिग्री दिया है मुझे which exceeds 360, which is greater than 360, so how would I find out in which quadrant does it lie? है ना, तो बेसिक सा अप्रोच है. What can we do? Basic सा अप्रोच है, right? What can we do? One option is, say suppose I'm taking we have say 435 degrees, all right? Now you have to tell me in which quadrant does it lie. What can I do? I'll do 435 minus 360, है ना, क्या हो जाएगा इससे? I'll get 75 degrees as the remainder. Now where does my 75 degree lie in this? It lies in quadrant 1. So where would my 435 degrees lie? It would also lie in quadrant 1, है ना? सीधे सीधे बात है, समझिए सबको, है ना, समझ में आना चाहिए, राइट? इजी सी बात है. क्या करना है, अगर हमें कोई भी एंगल x दिया हुआ है ना, डिग्रीज में, और जो x है मेरा, ये मेरा ग्रेटर देन 360 है, तो ये केस में हम क्या करेंगे, हम x में से 360 सब्ट्रैक्ट करते रहेंगे. ओके, until and unless the value which we get is less than 360. Okay, why? Because 0 to 360 is something which we can plot directly, right? So we'll follow this method, है ना. So suppose say my x is say 1020 degrees. Okay, so in this case what we have to do, from 1020 we'll keep on subtracting 360 or any multiple of 360 by the time the number is not less than 360s, right? So what we will do, we'll subtract 1020 minus 360, है ना. So what will I get? 1020 minus 360 अगर मैंने किया, I'm left with 660. Now again I subtract 360. क्या बचा? 300. Now 300 is less than 360 degrees, right? So मेरा जो condition है वो satisfy हो गया, है ना? What was it? What did I tell you? We have to do x minus 360 into n so that the value of x, है ना, जो x dash है, value x dash, ये 360 से कम नहीं हो जाता. So 300 मेरा कम है 360 से. So what will I do? I'll see where does my 300 lie. My 300 lies in quadrant 4. So therefore मेरा जो value आया है यहाँ पे, my x which is say 1020 degree, it would lie in my quadrant number 4. Okay, so this is a very basic and standard approach जो तुम लोग follow कर सकते हो, है ना, which we all can follow to find the quadrant जिसमें डिग्री और like which it lies, है ना. So we've covered an example also for the same. All right, so we can move forward, है ना, for the next question. So question number 4. All right, क्या है question number 4? Derive the parallelogram law of vector addition. ओके, क्या बोला है? हमको बोला है पैरेललोग्राम लॉ ऑफ वेक्टर एडिशन। स्टूडेंट्स, तो ये जो क्लास है हमारी, इन दिस विल बी सॉल्विंग रैंडम क्वेश्चंस एंड रैंडम कॉन्सेप्ट्स। वी आर नॉट फॉलोइंग एनी स्ट्रक्चर्ड अप्रोच दैट ओके दिस टॉपिक वी आर कवरिंग एंड दिस नॉट, बिकॉज इट इज मच मोर ऑफ अ रिविजन थिंग। बट ऑल्सो सपोज मान लो कोई स्टूडेंट्स है जो फर्स्ट टाइम लेक्चर अटेंड कर रहे हैं और जस्ट वांट टू गेट एन आइडिया ऑफ वॉट एवर इज बीइंग टॉट, वी आर ट्राइंग टू कीप इट इन सच अ बेसिक वे कि सबको समझ में आए कि कर क्या रहा है। ओके, सो पैरेललोग्राम लॉ ऑफ वेक्टर एडिशन। सो वेक्टर्स एवरीवन नोज वेक्टर्स क्या होते हैं ना। सो पैरेललोग्राम लॉ जो है उसका हमें वो डिराइव करना है। सो व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट थिंग व्हिच वी विल नीड फॉर अ पैरेललोग्राम लॉ? विल नीड अ पैरेललोग्राम, है ना, very basic. So let's just draw a diagram and which we can follow for better naming convention whatsoever. हम एक diagonal बना लेंगे हम इसकी, and we'll just label it, okay? OA, this is your one vector. Then we have AB vector, we have O to B vector, we have O to D vector, and then we have D to B vector. All right, ये हो गया मान लो हमारा Q, this is our R and this is our P. We'll just label these angles as phi and theta. Now अगर मेरा ये angle theta है and if I'm drawing a perpendicular say from B to extended line which is my C, so मेरा जो ये वाला angle है ये मेरा हो जाएगा theta directly. Okay, I hope this much part is clear to everyone. Now what we have to do is कि हमें analytical derivation करना है इस चीज़ को. All right, just give me a second. Okay, chalo, let's begin. So, does everyone remember the parallelogram law of vector addition? Or you want me to write it down? And it's better if I do. Okay. So it states that if two vectors acting simultaneously at a point, acting simultaneously at a point can be represented both in magnitude. ओके, ये जो दो टर्म्स है हमारे, वेक्टर क्या क्वांटिटी हैज अ मैग्नीट्यूड एंड वेक्टर हैज अ डायरेक्शन, राइट? स्केलर प्रोडक्ट्स जो रहते हैं उनको डायरेक्शन नहीं होती. ओके, इन मैग्नीट्यूड एंड डायरेक्शन by adjacent sides of a parallelogram drawn from a point drawn from a point, then the resultant vector, okay, then the resultant vector is represented by the diagonal of the parallelogram which passes through that point, passing through that point. Okay, ignore the handwriting for now, but I hope it is clear और सबको समझ में आ रहा है जो भी लिखा हुआ है. All right, let's move forward. So this diagram will just keep it in mind. Okay, so जो O है point मेरा, O is my point from where I have two vectors going. One is my OA and other is my OD. Then मेरा जो parallelogram का diagonal है OB, that is my resultant which acts like the sum. Okay, so for the derivation part of this, है ना, हमको derive करना है. What we'll do is जैसे हमने एंगल्स अज्यूम कर लिए थे, है ना, लाइक वी हैड ड्रॉन इन द फिगर. थीटा क्या था मेरा? थीटा वाज द एंगल बिटवीन पी एंड क्यू एंड आर क्यू. उन दोनों के बीच में का जो एंगल था मेरा, दैट इज आर. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस इज, अकॉर्डिंग टू माय पैरेललोग्राम लॉ, the diagonal OB, it represents the resultant of P and Q. Resultant of P and Q. So what do we have? We have R is equal to P plus Q. Okay. Now what we'll do is कि ये जब हमने नॉर्मल बेसिक सा डायग्राम बना दिया था, है ना, वी ड्रॉ अ पी बनाया था हमने, क्यू बनाया था, आर, है ना, ओ बी, देन द नेक्स्ट थिंग विच वी डिड वाज वी एक्सपांडेड फ्रॉम ए टू सी एंड वी ड्रॉ अ परपेंडिकुलर बी टू सी, है ना, परपेंडिकुलर जो थी हमारी ओ सी लाइन को. नाउ व्हेन वी आर कंसिडरिंग द ट्रायंगल ओ सी बी, ओके, कौन सा ट्रायंगल ओ सी एंड बी, ओके, सो इन दैट ट्रायंगल व्हाट कैन आई राइट, है ना, इट इज अ 90 डिग्री ट्रायंगल बॉयज, ओ सी बी, है ना बच्चों, जो ट्रायंगल है हमारा, इट इज अ 90 डिग्री ट्रायंगल. सो पाइथागोरस थ्योरम, ओ बी स्क्वायर इज इक्वल टू ओ सी स्क्वायर प्लस बी सी स्क्वायर. ऑल राइट, नाउ व्हाट कैन आई राइट दिस एज, जो मेरा ओ सी स्क्वायर है उसको मैं और क्या टर्म्स में लिख सकता हूँ, इधर बीच में आई हैड अ पॉइंट ए, सो आई कैन जस्ट स्प्लिट इट एज ओ ए प्लस ए सी, है ना. So my OB square would become OA plus AC square plus BC का square. All right. Now, in my triangle ABC, now I'll consider the another triangle. है ना? What was my triangle ABC? Triangle A, B, and C. All right. Same thing, but this time we'll take the angle. Okay. My cos of theta would be what? So everyone remembers how we use the trigonometric functions, है ना? What does cos stand for? What does sin stand for? है ना? Cos क्या हो गया मेरा? Cos is my adjacent upon hypotenuse. So what's my adjacent side? Adjacent side is मेरा AC upon the opposite. So my cos theta would be AC upon AB, or I can say my AC is AB cos theta. All right. Or I can also see that my AC is OD cos theta, which is equal to my Q cos theta. How? Since my AB is equal to OD is equal to Q. है ना? Just a second. I'll just draw the diagram once again, है ना, so that it's better for you all to remember. This was my A, C, and this was my B, right? So what did I write my AC as? AC को I wrote as OD cos theta. Why? Because जो मेरा AB है, AB is equal to my OD, right? And जो OD है मेरा वो क्या है, मेरा Q है, right? That's my Q vector. So I wrote it as Q cos theta. All right. Now I can also write my cos theta as BC upon AB. Now what is my BC? BC is this side, AB is this. How am I writing this? है ना? ये जो 90 degree है, then these two angles are the same. So what can I write? My BC is equal to AB sin theta. All right. Or I can write मेरा AC जो है, it is also my Q sin theta. Okay. AC is Q cos theta और AC is my Q sin theta. Now जो मैग्नीट्यूड है हमारा रिजल्टेंट का, है ना, व्हाट वी हैव टू डू इज वी नीड द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ रिजल्टेंट. So what we will do, we'll substitute the value of AC and BC in equation number 1. So what will we get? We'll get r square is equal to p plus q cos theta का square plus q sin theta square. All right. Or we can also write r square as p square plus 2pq cos theta plus q square cos square theta plus q square sin square theta, right? Simplify, I can also write it as p square plus 2pq cos theta plus q square, or I can simply write it as r is equal to under root of p plus q squares दोनों का of cos plus cos theta. So this is your magnitude of the resultant. Now चलो मैग्नीट्यूड तो हो गया. Now what about its direction, है ना? As per the diagram we showed the direction, but then when we have to write it, how? Okay. So for my direction of the resultant, what I'll do, I had taken the angle phi, which is the angle that my resultant R makes with P. So what can I write next? From my triangle OBC, okay, my tan of phi is equal to BC upon OC, which is equal to BC upon OA plus AC, right? Or I can see that my tan phi is q sin theta upon p plus q cos theta. All right. Or I can say that my phi angle is tan inverse of q sin theta upon p plus q cos theta. Okay. So phi जो है मेरा, it tells me the direction of my resultant. Now what we have to do is we have to calculate the resultant when the two vectors are perpendicular to each other. Okay, when the two vectors are perpendicular to each other. And we'll just consider this case as well. Why to live out on, like why to leave out on some information, है ना? It's always better to know and revise things. है ना? बाद में ऐसा ना हो जाए कि चलो ठीक है टॉपिक तो लेके आए बट देन उसमें बस स्पेसिफिक एस्पेक्ट कवर किया. Okay, let's not do that. So as derived above, what did we do? The magnitude जो था हमारा resultant का, what did we write it as? We wrote it as p square plus q square plus 2pq cos of theta. Now given that the two vectors are perpendicular implies my theta is 90 degrees. If my theta is 90 degrees, तो cos 90 का value क्या है? Cos 90 is 0. So what am I left with? R is equal to under root of p square plus q square. Okay. So I can also write this कि मतलब जो मेरा value resistance है, if the two vectors are perpendicular to each other, it would be r of under root of p square plus q square. Okay. Is everything clear till this point? I hope so. It's clear for everyone. Okay. We discussed all the points. What would happen if, like, how to derive a parallelogram law for vector addition, and what would happen if my vectors are perpendicular to each other wala condition case also. Okay. Next question. Question number 5. What is my question number 5? Find the degree of 369 pi radians. 369 pi radians is how many degrees? Okay. So I hope everyone is clear with the concept of radians and the concept of degrees. है ना? So in this, how do we convert degrees to radians or radians to degrees is the question, है ना? Now in this case, I'll just tell you all the standard formula which you can remember is that जो हमारा angle रहता है in radian, okay, our angle in radian is angle in degree into pi by 180. All right. So ये जो standard formula I'm telling you all is what you have to remember. Very basic formula, everyone can remember this, है ना? कुछ heavy logic है नहीं, ठीक है? Angle in radian is equal to your angle in degree into pi upon 180, ठीक है? और pi जो है यहाँ पे pi is the basic है ना standard 22 upon 7 और 3.14. Okay. Now what we will do is, question क्या दिया है हमें? We have been asked to convert the radian to degrees. So for converting my radian to degrees, what will I do? My pi by 180 would come to this side. So what will happen? Radian into 180 by pi is equal to degrees. Right? What is the radian value that has been given to me? It is 369 pi radians into 180 upon pi. What would happen now? Pi cut, the resultant value. What's the resultant value? It is my 369 into 180. So what would be the value of 369 into 180? It would be 66420 degrees. All right. This was only what they have asked us in the question. Now ऐसे भी हो सकता है in certain case कि उन्होंने तुम्हें डिग्रीज वाली वैल्यू दे दी. ओके, दे आर लाइक ओके 66420 डिग्रीज है and now they ask you to convert it into radian. Okay, so what will we do in this case? 66420 into pi by 180, which would be your 369 pi, है ना? So the standard formula which I've told you above is what you all have to remember and keep in your mind. ठीक है? उसके अलावा nothing else is needed. Very good. So let's move to our next question. Question number 6. ठीक है? I hope everyone is comfortable with the pace in which we are moving. I hope it is not too fast or too slow? If that is the case, you all can please let me know down in the comment section. Okay, thank you. So that we can keep it in mind from moving on, and for the upcoming lectures, we can organize it at such a pace which is comfortable for every one of you. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ओके क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 क्या दिया है हमें क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 में p ऑफ x इज इक्वल टू 3x+1 सो एट x इज इक्वल टू -1/3 इसकी जो वैल्यू है वो क्या आएगी सच ए इजी क्वेश्चन राइट कुछ करना है हमको एक्स्ट्रा इसमें नहीं simply we just have to substitute the value of x is equal to 1/3 into the function है ना क्या करना है substitute the value of x that is your -1/3 in the equation and evaluate. Do you need my help in this? Of course not. क्या करना है सिंपली इक्वेशन में सब्सटीट्यूट करके कमेंट डाउन द आंसर p of x. So p of -1/3 would be 3 into -1/3 plus 1. Easy calculation. क्या आएगा आंसर -1 plus 1 0. So the answer is 0. Okay, very easy question. कुछ मुश्किल था इसमें नहीं. Did they ask us to do anything extra? No, simple equation. इट्स नॉट इवन अ क्वाड्रेटिक है ना लीनियर इक्वेशन में बस वैल्यू सब्स्टिट्यूट करने बोल दिया एक्स की ठीक है in exams they might ask you like they might give you big equations and of degree 4 5 6 7 anything and they'll ask you to find the values or there might be some other form or structure in which the question is given so we will tackle that type of question also not now but in the upcoming lectures also if anyone has any suggestions any feedbacks या कोई specific type of question cover करना चाहते हैं तो please let us know in the comment section below. Okay, let's move to the next question. Question number 7 क्या बोला है इसमें 0 to the power 0 is it determinate or indeterminate form is it determinate or indeterminate form okay so I hope all of you know what a determinate form and indeterminate form is है ना so in mathematics we have total 7 indeterminate forms as per the theory I'm telling it to you कि total 7 indeterminate forms होते हैं and 0 to the power 0 is a indeterminate form. ये तो मैंने स्टेटमेंट बता दिया तुम सबको है ना कि जो मेरा 0 to the power 0 है that is an indeterminate form. But why is it so? है ना we are the students of the modern world. We need to know the logic. We need to know the whys and reasons behind each and everything. है ना बस ऐसी ब्लाइंडली भाई किसी ने कोई भी चीज बोल दी तो मान लेंगे हम बिल्कुल नहीं है ना तो लेट्स सी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड इट फ्रॉम द केस ऑफ लिमिट्स है ना तो कंडीशन के हिसाब से अगर मैं इसको डाल दूं तो क्या हो जाएगा मेरा लिमिट x टू c f ऑफ x इज 0 एंड मेरा जो लिमिट है g of x that's this okay तो अभी क्या करना है मेरे को जो मेरा फॉर्म है दैट आई विल बी ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग इट टू 0/0 है ना सो व्हाट विल इट विल बिकम माय लिमिट x to the c f of x to the power g of x is equal to limit from x tending to like c g of x upon 1 upon ln f of x okay आई होप यू ऑल आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग है ना लिमिट्स वगैरह पढ़ रखी होगी सबने इज व्हाट आई एम अज्यूमिंग इफ नॉट try to understand what we have done. We split the equation into two types. One is zero positive. It means it's tending to some value which is positive towards zero. Okay. And the other thing is g of x, which is zero basically. Okay. If x is tending to certain set of value to certain thing, मेरा जो g of x है that is zero. Now what we did, we computed the entire equation into one way है ना f of x to the power g of x okay so क्या लिखा मैंने limit when x is tending to c my g of x upon 1 upon ln f of x this is my 0/0 form okay now when I'm writing it as g of x upon 1 upon ln f of x जो मेरा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो गया इसका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन मेरा किस में हो गया टू इन्फिनिटी अपॉन इन्फिनिटी राइट so what did it become it becomes my limit x tends to c ln f of x upon 1 upon g of x. Okay, so it is your indeterminate form. Now there are other indeterminate forms as well. You have infinity to the power 0, and then there are other more certain, what do we say, variations to it. There are conditions to it. If we change, है ना, अगर x की power 0 कर दूं मैं, if I do 0 to the power infinity, or if I write infinity to the power 0, or if I'm writing 0 infinity times, or if I'm doing something, we'll study that also. But then these topics have already been covered before. If you want to know more about them, you can go and select the playlist and the video corresponding to the topics. These classes are purely based on questions, random set of questions which covers different topics and which helps you to understand how to tackle different questions. Okay. So question number 8 is what is arithmetic progression, and we have to discuss the formulas and concepts. This question will keep it for the next class or like for later stage, because I think primarily it's better if we move on with the questions provided the amount of time that we have. Okay. एक एक घंटे के लेक्चर्स हैं इसमें. आई ऑल्सो कांट रश टू फास्ट एंड कवर ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. सो जो बेसिक चीज़ें हैं और जो भी क्वेश्चंस है लाइक विच आर चैलेंजिंग और विच वी नीड टू नो और लर्न, विल कवर दैट. ओके. सो क्या क्वेश्चन दिया है हमें? Question number 9, we'll solve the question number 9 first. Okay. If time permits, we'll come back to the question number 8 where we'll discuss arithmetic progression. If not now, we'll keep a separate class on it and cover कर लेंगे वो. ठीक है. So अगर किसी को चाहिए है ना that we have a session on arithmetic progression, please let us know in the comment section below. Next thing, question number 9 क्या है? What is question number 9 saying? A and B can complete a task together in 35 days. If A works alone and completes 50, sorry, there's a typo, guys. It is 5 by 7. Okay, 57 of the task doesn't make any sense, so sorry for the typo. Okay. Now, what is the question saying? If A and B can complete a task together in 35 days, okay, दोनों साथ में काम कर रहे हैं, 35 days में उनका complete हो रहा है. If A works alone and completes 5 by 7% of the task and then leaves the rest for B to complete by herself, it will take a total of 90 days to complete the task. Okay. How many days would it take A, the more efficient among the duo, to complete the entire work by herself? ठीक है? Got the question? अगर A and B can complete a task together, है ना, दोनों साथ में काम कर रहे हैं, ऑब्वियसली यार दो लोग साथ में हमेशा काम करेंगे तो काम जल्दी हो जाएगा, है ना. इफ एनीवन इज हेल्पिंग, इफ वी आर डूइंग इट ऑल बाय आवरसेल्फ, इट विल टेक अस मोर टाइम. तीन लोग नहीं दिए हमें क्वेश्चन में, ना. दे हैव ओनली गिवन ए एंड बी, दे आर नॉट गिविंग अस थ्री पीपल. क्यों? तीन तिगाड़ा काम बिगाड़ा, राइट. वैसे कुछ नहीं, मैथमेटिक्स एनीथिंग इज पॉसिबल, बट स्टिकिंग टू द क्वेश्चन जहाँ पे बस दो ही लोग हैं. ओके. इफ ए एंड बी वर्क टुगेदर, they'll take 35 it in terms of units. Okay, which is 1 unit of work every day which they are doing. Okay. Now, let the amount of work done by A all by herself in one day be x units, right? अगर A x unit काम कर रहा है and B जो है वो y unit काम कर रहा है, ठीक है. So what would happen? My x plus y is equal to 1 unit of work. Statement is clear to everyone, है ना? In one day, if A is working certain amount and Y is working certain amount, and collectively they are working 1 unit, so X plus Y would be 1 unit. Okay. Now what have they given is that A works alone. A works alone and completes 5 upon 7% of the task. So I can write it as 5 upon 7 into 35. Okay, which is my 25 units. All right. Now, if A is completing 25 units of work, we don't know how much time or how many days is she taking right now, है ना. ये बात उन्होंने हमें बताई है नहीं बताई है. Okay, but what are they saying is for the remaining time period B is working alone. है ना? इफ बी इज वर्किंग अलोन, कितना टास्क बाकी है बी के लिए? आउट ऑफ द 35 माइनस 25, ओनली 10 यूनिट्स ऑफ वर्क इज लेफ्ट. भाई यार, ए तुमने तो काम बहुत आसान कर दिया बी के लिए, है ना? यू वर्क लाइक व्हाट, मोर देन हाफ द वर्क यू हैव डन ऑल बाय योरसेल्फ एंड यू लेफ्ट ओनली 10 यूनिट्स फॉर बी. ओके, सो व्हेन बी इज वर्किंग अलोन फॉर 10 यूनिट्स, तो बी कितना टाइम लेने वाला है उसको कंप्लीट करने के लिए? बी वुड टेक 10 upon y days, right? And similarly, for x to complete 25 units, a took 25 upon x days, right? Now what is the next thing that they have told us? Ki a or b, if they work in this way, है ना, where a worked alone and then b worked alone for the remaining task, they took 90 days. So I can write it as 25 upon x plus 10 upon y is 90. All right, the statement. अभी क्या करना है हमें? Do we have to do anything else? No. Simple linear equation in two variables. We just have to solve this. Okay. Proceed. करना. चलो. What will I get? I'll get 25y plus 10x is equal to 90 times xy. Then I can write 25 into 1 minus x plus mera 10 of x is equal to 90xy. Then my 25 minus 25x plus 10x is equal to 90x into 1 minus x. Guys, ऊपर इक्वेशन थी, है ना? Don't forget x plus y is equal to 1. Therefore, y can be substituted as 1 minus x, which we have done in these cases. All right? Clear, everybody? Very good. Let's move again. Now, what will I get over here? 25 minus 25x plus 10x. So 25 minus 15x is equal to 90x minus 90x square. Okay. So yeah, equation ko I'll simplify. So finally, है ना, once you solve it, what will you get? You will get 90 का x square minus 75x. No, it would become plus. So ये हो जाएगा तुम्हारा, excuse me, just a second. Okay, you'll get 90 x square minus 105x plus 25. Now 5 से डिवाइड करके सिंप्लीफाई कर दो, है ना? We'll just reduce the amount, magnitude, whatever. Minus 21x plus 5 is equal to 0. So splitting the middle term, 18 into 5 is 90. 90 ko agar I have to split 21 such that the multiple is 90, what can I write it as? I can write it as a 15 and 6. So I'll write 18x square minus 15x minus 6x plus 5 is 0. Simplifying, I'll get 6x minus 5 into 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now, what are the two options that I have? One is x is either my 5 by 6 or my x is 1 upon 3. But now what have they told us? They have told us कि x जो है, it is more efficient. So is 5 by 6 more efficient? No. 1 by 3 is more efficient, right? Efficiency in this case is not the higher value. Efficiency in this case is the lower time period with which we are dealing. तो 1 upon 3 जो है हमारा वो less time period है. Okay, clear? चलो. So the time taken by A alone to complete the work by herself कितना हो जाएगा? अच्छा, सी, सॉरी, सो सॉरी. X in this case would be 5 by 6. Why? Because वो जो है हमारा, it is in the remainder, it is in the division वाला frame, right? So X would be 35 upon 5 by 6, which is equal to 42 days. Now see the difference, है ना? If A is working all by herself or by himself, whatever it is, अच्छा, herself only, so sorry. If A is working all by herself, she can complete the task in 42 days. And if B is helping her, the task is reduced only by 7 days difference. Okay, they're completing it in 35 days. All right, clear with this question? Let's move forward. Okay, अगला question क्या है? What is the next question? Question number 11. 11? No, 10. All right, question number 10. Very easy question. Limit x tends to 0, sine of 2x, oh, that's sine 2x plus 3x upon 4x plus sine 6x. Okay, कुछ नहीं करना है, दिस इज वेरी बेसिक, वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. विल जस्ट राइट इट एज लिमिट एक्सटेंडिंग टू जीरो डिवाइड बाई एक्स, है ना, साइन 2x अपॉन एक्स प्लस 3 अपॉन 4 प्लस साइन 6x अपॉन 6x into 6. Okay, so for x tending to 0, substitute यहाँ पे, will get 2 plus 3 upon 4 plus 6 which is equal to 1 upon 2. Other approach to this question is कि like if you don't want to follow this particular step है ना जहाँ पे मैंने divide कर दिया है, you can just simply write it continue in this form. सीधा into this equation what you can do is you can evaluate the function by substituting 0 for x here itself, like one solving it. Now note always है ना, जब हमारे पास में कोई constant term है right जहाँ पे जिसके ऊपर x की वैल्यू डिपेंड हो रही है, you can't simply make it as जीरो. क्या हो जाएगा फिर, साइन जीरो जीरो साइन 6x जीरो है ना, फिर 4 भी जीरो जीरो, से इसकी तो वैल्यू तुम लोग तो सीधे जीरो जीरो डाल दोगे. दैट डज नॉट मेक सेंस एट ऑल. ओके, यू हैव टू कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड वॉट एवर यू आर डूइंग. ठीक है. So when you simplify it, your value comes down to be like 3 of cos 2 cos 2x upon 4 plus 6 cos of 2x. Now when you put it tending to 0 है ना, cos 0 हो गया, sin 0 हो गया, 0 0 is equal to your 1. So you'll just get the value of it है ना, and then you simplify and solve it. So it would be like 3 plus 2 which is like say 5 upon 10, 1 upon 2. Okay, this is like the alternative form or in another way in which you can solve the question. Okay. So it's almost 5:57 now. We have got 3 minutes. So we'll just cover and complete our question number 11. And once that is done, we'll stop with the lecture. Okay. थोड़ा सा बड़ा क्वेश्चन है but then it's fine. क्या दिया हमें? Cos x is 2 cos y minus 1 upon 2 minus cos y. They're asking us the value of tan x by 2 into cot y by 2. Okay, let's proceed with the question है ना. This is the last question for today and then we'll meet in the next lecture. चलो, क्या कर सकते हैं अभी, cos x हमें दे रखा है. Let's substitute it as 2 theta. What can I write? I can write cos 2 theta is equal to 1 minus tan square theta upon 1 plus tan square x by 2. Now 1 minus tan square x upon 2 upon 1 plus tan square x upon 2 is equal to 2 cos y minus 1 upon 2 minus cos of y. राइट, जो स्टेटमेंट दे रखी है हमें, we just converted it है ना, हमने फॉर्मूला डाल दिया cos 2 theta का which we know in terms of tan and we substituted it in the equation. Now what can I write? 1 minus tan square x by 2 प्लस 1 प्लस tan स्क्वायर x बाई 2. दोनों साइड में वही करना है. 1 माइनस tan स्क्वायर x बाई 2 माइनस 1 माइनस tan स्क्वायर x बाई 2. So what would this become? This would become my 2 cos y minus 1 plus 2 minus cos y upon 2 cos y minus 1 minus 2 plus cos of y. Okay, so on simplification it would be my 2 upon minus 2 tan square x by 2 which is equal to my cos y plus 1 upon 3 cos y minus 3. I can also write it as tan square x by 2 is equal to 3 into 1 minus cos of y upon 1 plus cos of y. Okay, so my tan square x by 2 will become 3 tan square y by 2 है ना. After this the step which we have done is 3 into 1 minus cos y को we can write as 2 sin square y by 2 upon 1 plus cos y को you can write as 2 cos square y by 2. Okay, from there we got this thing 3 tan square y by 2. Okay, now tan of x by 2 is equal to under root 3 tan y by 2. Clear? And then your tan of x upon 2 upon your tan of y upon 2 is equal to root 3. Now we all know that 1 upon tan जो रहता है हमारा 1 upon tan x is equal to cot of x. So therefore your tan of x by 2 into cot of x by 2 or cot of y by 2 in this case will be equal to root 3. So यहाँ से जो हमारी वैल्यू है वो आ गई Clear for everyone? Okay then, very good. So with this, we've completed the today's session. है ना, जो हमारा 1 hour का था, ask me anything for mathematics. So thank you so much, students, for joining it. If you liked the session, please leave a like. And if there's any feedback or suggestion or any topic or specific question type that you would want me to cover, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for joining the session. You can leave it. Bye. We'll meet again for the next session. Thank you.
Thanks, Chirag.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.